Hello and welcome to our Salesforce.com webinar, Crank Up Your ROI with Salesforce.com, Training and Certification. As you may know, Salesforce.com is a publicly traded company, and therefore we do need to share this safe harbor statement with you to let you know that any forward-looking statements are just that, forward-looking statements. If you'd like to learn more about the safe harbor statement, you can find it on our website under the Investor Relations section. So with that, I'd like to introduce Catherine Lang.
Hi, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Catherine Lang. I'm the Senior Director of Course Development in our new certification program here at Salesforce.com. I'm joined today by Sarah Whitlock, who is our Chief Course Architect and Master Instructor. Today, Sarah and I are going to discuss ways you can optimize your Salesforce CRM implementation this year. We've designed this session to share some best practices from our most successful customers. Our goal is to give you practical ways you can make your users more productive and how you can get more out of the customer information you have in Salesforce CRM. In times like these, we all know we need to take control of our business. We need to act on every lead, win every deal, and keep every customer. It's important that we all look for ways to get the most out of Salesforce CRM. That means we need to be more efficient and effective in how customer accounts are managed. We need to put some tools in place to close more deals. We need to ensure that adoption is high and our users are proficient and productive. And we need to make sure that everyone can quickly get the data they need to manage their business. It's not surprising that training is a key part of the solution to these needs. We've seen that organizations who train their people see 52% higher adoption than those who just hope that people will figure it out themselves. So imagine if you could get 52% more out of your subscription to Salesforce CRM. And if you had a training plan in place for your users and for yourself, that would result in high adoption, high productivity, and high visibility into the business. In today's webinar, you will learn from the best practices of our almost 52,000 customers. We will share some tips on how to crank up your ROI by training your users to be more productive and your administrators to maximize value. So here's the agenda. First, we're going to focus on increasing productivity for all of your Salesforce CRM users. I'm going to start by walking through the steps you should follow to create your 2009 training plan. Along the way, I'm going to share some tips and best practices from our customers on how to make sure every training effort helps your users get the most out of Salesforce CRM and how the applications can become an integral part of how you reach your business goals. Then Sarah's going to focus on the things you can do to customize Salesforce CRM. She's going to show you on how she solves some of the common business problems to increase the visibility into customer and account data you have so that your reps can win more deals and managers can get the best views into the business. Finally, we're going to point you to some additional resources that contain more tips like these and ways we can help you learn how to customize Salesforce CRM to your needs. So let's start and take a look at the 2009 training plan. As you plan for this year, you certainly need to figure out how you yourself are going to continue to build your administrator or application development skills. This might be taking one of our courses like our Advanced Admin class or our Force.com Essentials course. And some of you might even be looking towards earning one of our new certified professional credentials. But you also need to consider how you're going to make sure that all of your Salesforce CRM users are trained. You need to consider what is expected of them and how they will use the applications to win more deals. Your training plan for 2009 should be aimed at increasing adoption and increasing productivity so you can get the most out of the applications. So where you want to start is building out your design, how you want to design the program. This is about taking a look at how you're going to get and keep everyone trained on the processes and features they need to be successful. In this stage, you want to make sure to set and get management agreement on the business goals. You want to look at why this is important, how success is going to be measured, and you want to make sure you're very clear on what the users are expected to do to be successful. You want to make sure you look at who your audience is, and then what's the content set? What are the other things that it relates to, and what other processes do you need to combine with? You need to look at some things like where are your users? What do they expect in terms of travel or time out away from the desk or how much time they're going to spend in training so that you can plan accordingly? And certainly you need to look at when. How quickly does this need to happen? What we know is we want to make sure we get people productive and efficient as quickly as possible. So you really need to think through how to get it out to the largest group possible, but then also what are some of the implications of staging delivery over time. One of the things that we've learned from our customers is it's very important to set the training goals in the context of the business goals. So you might look at things like what are the company's sales goals and how can you relate your goals to how training is going to help them get there. You also might want to look at sales reporting requirements so that you make sure that people know what to do so that you get the information that will lead to the most valuable and visible reports. And then finally, you might also look at your sales process or your new hire orientation process to make sure that you're orienting your design accordingly. Once you have the buy-in to the program design, you want to start development. It's important at this stage to identify your subject matter experts. You want to build a team that can be your early adopters and also has the full range of expertise you need in both Salesforce CRM and the sales processes you're supporting. You want to choose your tools. You want to figure out how you're going to deliver this. This is online or classroom, and what do you need to build up behind it. You want to test it, and you want to iterate and then test and then iterate again. So try it out on your early adopters. See how things are going. The tendency is to wait for training material to be perfect before you start using it. You're better off getting it into the hands of the people sooner and then modifying it as you learn more about what works. And absolutely, you want to plan for maintenance. So you want to build this so that it keeps going. So it's not uncommon to start building training material right away. I'd encourage you to look around at what's already available to you. There's quite a lot of training available through the Salesforce.com community. And we offer online training on the training and certification website to get people started as well. One way to use that content is to create training paths for people. This is a great tip that we hear from a lot of customers, that they go through and they see everything that they could train people on, and then they create very clear paths based on process or role or experience level, so users get up to speed very quickly and don't feel like they're learning a lot of things they're not ready to use yet. While you're developing your content, it's a good time to start communicating your goals and processes. You want to make sure your users know what to expect and that they're clear on what they're expected to do. You also want to make sure you put the training in the context of their goals. Again, they might have quotas, they might have sales goals that they need to work towards. So this is another really good reason to make sure you tie your training plan into the sales goals. So you need to make it matter to them. Make sure they understand that if they learn how to do this, what are they going to get out of it? So you want to communicate, you want to be clear, you want to be open, and you want to communicate early. If you can, you want to reward success. This is a great way to use your management team to your advantage. And you want to follow up. You absolutely want to make this more than just a single event. This is something that you need to continuously come back to people so they can get more successful over time. One of our customers at Dreamforce this year told me about how one of the ways that she makes sure that her program is tied to the business. She makes training a prerequisite to getting a Salesforce CRM login. So she told me that this is a great way to make sure her reps know exactly what's expected of them, and it sets them up for success right away. I thought that was a great technique. So now that your users are ready and you have your training content lined up, you're ready to start delivering. So whether you choose to deliver your training online or in the classroom, make sure you keep the momentum going. Don't make it this one-time event. Set people's expectations very soon that they need to keep learning more and they're going to develop more skills. So some things to consider as you plan your delivery is you want to make sure that your instructors or the people that are helping you communicate are credible resources. And what I mean by that is if you have somebody who's delivering to sales rep, make sure they have sales experience. Make sure that they have first-hand experience and have been successful with Salesforce CRM in the process and in the role. You also want to be relentless. What happens often in training programs is that people get very enthusiastic early on, but then as they kind of go back to their day-to-day work, they lose the thread and fall back into old habits. So you want to make sure that you give them tools and tips and ongoing reinforcement so that they start to adopt new habits. So this is another great place to use your early adopters and your subject matter experts. The more people you get involved as experts, mentors, or coaches, the better your adoption is going to be. So one way to do this is to set up a simple Q&A distribution list or an online discussion site where your early adopters and subject matter experts are the moderators and are responsible for answering the questions. This also means that you don't have to try to answer every question that comes in. So these conversations also become great training material going forward because you're seeing real live questions and how people who are also experiencing the same thing are answering them. So I have measurement here as the fifth step, but you really should be measuring success all along the process here. Make sure you're measuring against the business goals. It's important to look at the more traditional training goals, like how many people have gone through the training. But the real success comes from increased productivity and the performance changes that you're going to see. Don't be worried if your measures change as the business goals evolved. This just means that your program is tied to the right goals, and you can make adjustments to your programs as the needs change. You want to measure continuously, and you want to measure performance. A good way to do this is show what high performers are doing to get and to stay trained. So it shows a link between training and performance, which you want to see, and it also gives you a good way to set training plans for others. As I've mentioned, you want to make sure your program is designed for maintenance. Training is not a one-time event. You're going to hear me say that again. A good way to keep users' interest is to report back on success stories, tell how high performers are taking advantage of the training, and how your program is really helping people win more deals. This also includes planning for upgrades. You have online release training available to you from Salesforce Training and Certification. Make sure you stay up to date with the release and make sure you communicate those updates to your users. This is a really good milestone to roll out new capabilities or report on successes, refresh skills, do things like that. And you also may want to use our release schedule as a preset training schedule for yourself so you can plan communication and delivery dates. So I hope that sparks some ideas for you as you plan your training plans this year. I've mentioned some resources available to you, such as our online training and the Salesforce.com community site. And user adoption and productivity is one of the business challenges we tackle in our advanced administration course. So you can find out more about that course at our training and certification website. So now that your users have adopted the app, or you have the plan for them to do that, so how do you manage your business in the app? We're going to switch gears now and show you some things you can do to get the most value out of Salesforce CRM. As administrators, you're probably looking for as many things as you can find to make it easier to use Salesforce CRM to win more deals and keep your customers happy. We're going to show you some of those things that you can do right away to make that happen. As your users become more productive, more and more of your customer data lives in Salesforce CRM. That's the point, right? You can use that data to win more deals and keep every customer happy. In this section, we're going to highlight some ways you can customize the application to get more value out of the data to run your business. Typically, when people hear data, they think reporting, and customers do frequently ask us for more training on how to use reports effectively. We cover reporting in detail in a lot of our classes because it is such a valuable part of the application. Today, we're going to highlight things you can do to make reporting easier and better, but we're also going to show you some other ways to get more out of the data you have to increase your ROI. We've pulled some key topics out of our training classes to go through today. Sarah's going to show you some ways that you can streamline reporting so that account data is more available to your users. She's going to show you how to use Visualforce to bring some competitive data to every rep to win more deals much easier and much more integrated, in a much more integrated way. And she's also going to show you a way to turn data into some visuals to give management the best views into the business so that they can set their top priorities. So we're going to start with pulling customer information within reach of the reps. So one of the common ways that users interact with the data stored in Salesforce is obviously reports. But, are your reports easy to use? That's a really important question to ask. And how easily can your users create reports on the information that they care about the most? We hear a lot that administrators need to make it easier for account reps to use reports to get that information. For example, reps always need information about reference customers. So how can you make it quick and easy for them to build and run a report that focus on just reference customers? The answer is a custom report type. So with custom report types, administrators can expose the right combination of objects and fields to get it to exactly what the rep needs to close the deal. They can create a report interface that's easy and logical to navigate, and they can certainly reduce the number of clicks or the amount of time that it takes for a rep to find that information. So Sarah, let's see how you've used a custom report type to make it easy to find those reference customers.
All right, delighted to do that. Thank you, Kat. So to start with, I've logged into a demo Salesforce org here that's very similar to the ones that we use in our training classes. And in this scenario, I'm going to start out playing the role of a sales rep. So I'm working with a customer, and we're very close to closing a deal. My customer is asked to speak to one of our existing clients, specifically one who made the decision to buy our products in favor of our primary competitor, Initech. Now, as one of the top sales reps at my company, I know that we collect information about our most successful customers who are willing to be references. So all I have to do to make my customer happy is to find one of these referenceable accounts. Now, to do this, typically I'll go to the Reports tab and create a custom report on the account object like so. But as I go through this process, I'm quickly faced with a report interface that's somewhat awkward to use. Now, I know that the fields I'm looking to report on are buried somewhere in all of these custom fields that I see on the interface, but I'm frustrated at having to dig through irrelevant and distracting information, things like third-party score, like credit report information. I wish there was an easier way for me to create this report. Just let me get in, find the data that I need, and go satisfy my customer. Okay, so what I'd like to show you now is a powerful thing that administrators can do to make reporting tasks easier and more efficient for their users. So as Kat mentioned, we're going to create a custom report type. Now, this is a configuration that administrators or users with the Manage Custom Report Types permission can do. And I'd like you to think of a custom report type as just a template for exposing only those objects and fields that your users need to see, presented in a logical and organized fashion. Now, report types are straightforward and easy to create. You simply select the related objects and fields you want to expose, and then arrange them on the page in much the same manner as you organize fields on a detailed page layout. Now, in the interest of time, I've pre-created a custom report type to support the search for our reference accounts. Now, here you can see that the object that I'm exposing on my template is the account object. And if I go in here and edit the layout, you can see that I've created sections, like this one here for reference information, to logically organize the fields on the interface. I displayed only those fields that are relevant for this particular scenario. I've also pulled some information, like you see down here in the account owner information section, information from our user object, so that we can get some information about our account owner. Now, it's likely that our sales rep will want to call or email the owner of the reference account to set up a meeting. So I've made that information easy to find. And finally, I've set certain fields, like the account name, that are most relevant to be selected by default. Now, once this report type has been created, we can expose it to our users and let them make use of it under the Reports tab in the usual way. So here you'll see that I've got a reference account report type that's located under the Accounts and Contacts reports. So I can go in here. Let's create a summary report. If you recall, our customer was interested in speaking to one of our clients who chose our products over Initech. So why don't we summarize this information by competitors? Now, notice how this user interface is much cleaner. We're presented with this optimized report showing only those fields that are most relevant. So none of the irrelevant and distracting fields that we saw before, like that information about credit scores, is here to clutter up the page. And all the fields that I want to report on are selected by default. So this is exactly what I need. So I can jump directly to the step in the report where I set up our report criteria. So let's look at all accounts where the account reference account equals true, and run our report. And just like that, I have exactly what I need. I've got 4 accounts here where we had a competitive win against Initech. And I've got contact information for the account owner, so I could give that person a call, reach out, and schedule a meeting between our 2 customers. So I think that's pretty neat. So this is just one example of a custom report type that our customers have found useful in the sales process. Now you can imagine there are other report types that you could create to streamline the sales process for your reps. Some of these might be customer cases and survey data, or discount trends, or accounts with and without activities, just to name a few. So custom report types, they're easy for you to create and make available to your end users. And they're a really good way to make better use of the data that you have available to close more deals.
Thanks, Sarah. So as you'll think about your training plans for 2009, you should really look at, what are the skills that you need to create these types of reports and to really make reporting a more integral part of how the reps get more information and close more business. One of the classes you might consider is our Force.com Essentials class, where we go into detail about how to create custom report types and other reporting techniques that drive these type of results. So we've looked at reports and how you can create custom report types to get quicker and better use out of the data you have. Another thing to look at is how to fold relevant information into the opportunity and account pages so the right data is available all in one place. So a common problem in the sales process is often finding up-to-date competitive information, including things like win-loss data and contact information. We know that a lot of customers capture this information, but it's often difficult for reps to find it quickly so they can incorporate it into their pitch. So you're probably familiar with page layout, so you know you can customize what information is displayed to the reps, but you can also use Visualforce and Apex to create highly relevant pages that can be embedded right where your reps need it. So Sarah, why don't you show us how you've solved the competitive information problem?
All right. Well, let's go back into our Salesforce org. Again, let's wear the hat of a sales rep. And this time, consider the case where I'm working on an opportunity. I'm wanting to sell some computers to this customer, Arbuckle Labs. Now, if I drill down into the opportunity detail, you'll see that in this competitive win section, I get this nice informative message that says, hey, if you'll put who your primary competitor is, put that up here in this competition field on our page, then you can get a list of some of our biggest wins against that company. So this is exactly the kind of information that I need to help close my deal. So let me go ahead and put in the primary competitor, save the opportunity, and just like that, I have 5 opportunities I can research to get an edge on my competition. Now, this is a great way to leverage the experience of my colleagues and close more deals. Now, you may be wondering what's involved in implementing a solution like this. It's basically composed of 3 parts. So there's an Apex class that does the work of mining your data, looking for those relevant competitive wins. Then there's a Visualforce page that's used to display the results. And then there's a page layout section to embed that Visualforce page on the opportunity detail page layout like you see here. Now, let's just take a quick look at the Visualforce page to see what's involved. Now, the primary function of this page is just to display the competitive wins on the screen. Now, if you're familiar with Visualforce, you can see that what's going on in this page is we're doing things like displaying the opportunity name, the account name, information about the owner and such inside of a table. All right? Now, this page leverages a Visualforce controller extension, basically an Apex class, to assemble the competitive information. Now, those of you who are familiar with Apex, you'll recognize that really what we're doing here is we're just running a SQL query to obtain the information that we seek. All right, now, these 2 pieces that I've just shown you, they definitely require some programming skills. Specifically, they require knowledge of Visualforce and Apex to create them. So if you have these skills, there's lots of things that you can do to increase the productivity of your users. But if you don't despair. You could attend one of our training classes to gain the necessary skills, or you could partner with an experienced Visualforce and Apex developer to build these elements. Now, once you have this Visualforce page in hand, the final step is simply to go over to your opportunity and add that Visualforce page to your opportunity layout. So what I did was I created this page layout section, labeled it Competitive Wins, and I dragged into that section the Visualforce page that was created for me. Now, Visualforce pages show up on your opportunity page layout editor under the view for pages. Now, this is just one example of how you can embed Visualforce pages in standard page layouts to make it quick and easy to expose competitive information without having to navigate away from your opportunity detail. Some other ways that our customers are using this technique is to embed Google Maps into account detail pages, or to show inventory levels for requested products on opportunity pages, or to render customer satisfaction ratings directly on account pages.
So that's a great way to give the reps the information they need all on one screen, integrated with their account or opportunity detail. So if you're ready for Visualforce and Apex, I'd encourage you to start with our free Visualforce online tutorial that's available off of the Training and Certification website. And then take a look at our classes on our Developer Learning Path. Those classes give you the skills you need to start building pages like this, like the competitive information page we just showed you. Okay, so we've talked about how you can help reps to close more deals by making it easier to find and work with the data you have in Salesforce CRM. So what about your sales management? So how can you make the data more meaningful so that sales managers can focus on the top priorities? So we all know picture's worth 1,000 words, and certainly this is going to apply to your business data as well. So Sarah's gone out and looked for things in the App Exchange to find some solutions to this problem. So let's take a look at what you've done there, Sarah.
Yeah, now this is a really cool demo. I like this one a lot. So in this scenario, I'm going to play the role of a sales manager. And I'm really interested in getting a good look at my sales pipeline for this quarter and the next so that I can judge where to focus my team's efforts in the coming weeks and months. Now, one way for me to get the insight I seek is to leverage page views. And I just happen to have a page view that shows opportunities closing this quarter. And when I invoke that, I certainly get useful information, much of the information that I'm looking for. So this is great. But what if I had a view into my pipeline that looked like this? Now, I think you can agree that this way of looking at my data is certainly more impactful. I can see what my pipeline really looks like for this quarter. I can see it in terms of opportunity amount or the number of opportunities that I have. And I can clearly see what's down the road in next quarter. So this is another solution that makes good use of Visualforce and Apex. However, in this case, I didn't need to write a single line of code. I found this solution on the App Exchange. And let me show you what's involved there. So it was easy to find. It was easy to install and immediately integrated with the opportunity data that I already had in my org. So the package that I installed here was the sales pipeline funnel. And you can see that what it installed in my org was a Visualforce page, a couple of Apex classes, a tab definition, and a static resource that's basically used as an icon. Now, let's go on to the App Exchange. I'll show you how I found this. I found this simply by searching using the keyword pipeline. Now, the specific solution that I chose to implement was the sales pipeline funnel that's provided by Salesforce Labs. So this is a free application. It's an app that was written by a Salesforce.com employee. But you can see that we have several other partner apps that are available to you to help you visualize and manage your pipeline. Now, I hope this example gets your creative juices flowing. Visually compelling views of your data like this can go a long way toward helping management get a quick read on their business to set the right goals for success.
So there's quite a few applications, as Sarah says, on the App Exchange that can help you give this kind of quick visual insight into the business. We cover more of these in our Advanced Administrator class, and we go deep on application customization and Visualforce in our developer classes. So Sarah, before we move on, we have some questions about some of the things that you've shown. So here's just a couple things that have come in. Is there a way to limit the number of report types that a person can create?
Well, there actually is a limit on the number of report types that you can create. And if you go into help and training, if you're ever looking for any of those app setup limits, just search on app setup limits here, and that'll show you all the limits that you have. There's a help topic specifically called app setup limits. And it shows things like, the maximum number of custom apps and whatnot. And you'll see that custom report types is listed here. And so the limits depend on what edition of our product you have. So certainly if you have unlimited edition, you have the greatest number of report types. Enterprise edition, we give you 30, unlimited 100, professional 10. And when you look at these numbers, the thing that I want you to think about is not about the limits, but rather to think sort of strategically about what kind of report types that you need to create. And in some cases, what you'll want to do is you'll want to create one report type, one template that serves more than one business use so that you get the most use out of each report type.
Okay, well, kind of along those lines, is it possible to limit who can see certain report types by profile or some other way?
Well, today it's not possible to limit the report types themselves. So these are the things that show up when you go into the report tab and you see a list. It'll come up shortly. You'll see a list of what shows up here. Okay, so you get to categorize where these report types go. So for example, the reference account gets to go, you decide that it goes in the account and contacts folder. But at this time, it's not possible to restrict, if someone can actually see the accounts and contacts folder and you choose to put your custom report type in that folder, everyone who has access to this folder will be able to see it.
Okay. Can a rep run a custom report type and not export the data, or do they always get the option to export the data?
Well, exporting data, that's one of those things that you can set up as a part of a user's profile. So that's one of the permissions that as an administrator you get to decide, am I going to allow a rep to export the data that shows up in a report?
Okay, great. And maybe you can just point us at some ways we can find out more about this. Somebody's asked, is there a way to create a custom view type just as you can create a custom report type?
A custom view type. Oh, you mean a report folder? Is that what you mean? Or
I'm not really sure.
Well, here, what I think that they probably mean, and I'm kind of taking a little bit of a guess as to what they mean. When you create your report type, one of the things that you're asked to do is categorize that report type. And so we'll go back to our reference account right now. And if you see up here, there's an entry that says report type category. And so in this case, we've put our report type in accounts and contacts. But what you'll see is in this report type category that shows up right here, this lists all of the standard reporting categories that we have in our reporting framework.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the ones for the standard objects, and then other reports down here, this is where you put reports that are typically associated with custom objects.
Great. Okay, and one more here. So on the competitive information page that we showed, somebody's asking, how are you linking competitive wins? By business type field or MCC code? Or? Oh, great. Yeah, that's a great question. And so really what's going on here, we're taking advantage of a field, a custom field, on the opportunity itself called the competition field. So it's just a text field, and in there we'll put, in this case we put Initech. And so what we're doing is we're running a query on all of our opportunities, looking for other opportunities where competition equals Initech. And then we want to know what the top 5 in terms of, let's say, deal amount is. So we sort that result set and, descending by amount, and then we just pull up the top 5. So I think in answer to the question, really what's going on is anytime that you want to incorporate one of these solutions, or many times if you incorporate these types of solutions,
you need to kind of think about your object model, like what fields that you might need to capture information in so that you can leverage those at the time that you're writing your little Apex script.
All right, thanks, Sarah. I think y'all can probably figure out why Sarah is one of our master instructors. So we hope you've gained some insight into some of the things you can do to get the most out of Salesforce CRM. Now, more than ever, it's important to be focused on maximizing usage and ROI. So training is a great way to increase adoption, ensure productivity, and really contribute to the success of every rep. So some things to remember. Plan now for how you're going to keep your users trained, productive, and informed. Set some priorities and goals that will really help drive the business so that the right training is delivered at the right time. Look for ways you can customize Salesforce CRM to make it easier to use, more valuable in every customer situation, and really give your management team the visibility they need to manage the business to success. We've pulled some examples from our classes to share some of the strategies and tools that you can use, and there's certainly many more that you can take advantage of. So what's next? We've mentioned quite a few training resources available to you today. Here's a listing of some of the things that we've talked about. Good place to start is salesforce.com/training. You'll be able to find courses about, for our administrators, like if you're just getting started with this, our Administration Essentials, or if you're a Professional Edition user, we have Administration Essentials for Professional Edition that we've just rolled out in an online virtual classroom format. A lot of the things that we've talked about have come from our Advanced Administration and our Force.com Essentials courses for people who are really ready to solve the types of challenges that we've presented here today. There are also a number of online resources available to you. I've listed out some of the ones that we've talked about today. The online training can be found on the Salesforce.com training. You should look for the End User tab. Certainly go to the Salesforce.com community. There's a lot of good information there, things that you can use as you train your users to be more productive. I'd encourage you to look at the Dreamforce session recordings. It's another area that we do a lot of this kind of topic-oriented, specific business problem. And certainly as you move into Visualforce and Apex, or even using our setup field to build your own custom applications, you can learn a lot on developer.force.com as well. So these are good things for you to consider as options when you're planning out your user training program, and I encourage you to look at the courses as you figure out your own training program. So to help you get started, we are offering a promotion to our webinar attendees. You can get up to 15% off the cost of our admin and developer classes. If you buy them as a bundle, you'll see that there's learning paths. If you buy them as a bundle, you'll get 15% off the total course price, and when you attend, you'll get an iPod. If you're ready to sign up for one course, you'll get 10% off that course price and an iPod as well. So you can go to that training link as well to learn more about our courses and to sign up. Or if you want to talk to a training specialist, someone like Sarah or I, you can call 1-877-TRAIN-10. So thanks for your time today. We're happy to take additional questions. Please send them through the chat on the GoToWebinar, and we'll pick them up from there. Other than that, thank you. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right, then. Thanks.